Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It is going down. It is going down. Oh, yes. Bringing it in hot, Michael. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, we love some. We got issues and we have the best crew in the background. So thank you, Dorothy. Thank you, Michael. This is Katrina Harris Earl, and I'm coming to you on We Got Issues today for another hot episode. Tag your friends, call your husband, call your cousins, and even tell your dog they need to sit down and listen. I mean, I don't know what planet you're on if you don't know what the significance of January 6th is. We are talking about the insurrection today. This is We Got Issues. You tuned into 910 a.m., the Superstation, coming to you on WFDF out of Detroit. And we do everything with excellence here. We bring you great content every single day, Monday through Friday. Katrina Harris Earl, Sabrina Gawin Monday, Lady Chrisette Ellis, Gloria Mayfield Banks. We are coming to you from California, Ohio, Detroit, all the way in Maryland. We have got you covered. We got issues. You got issues. We all got issues. So come here every day to talk about it. This is the freest, cheapest, funnest therapy you ever will get. Now, you might really need a therapist after today's show, and we are not that, but we can help you out. So I'm so grateful. We want you to call in. This is a show that we want you to call in. Stand up, speak up. That is how we got in this position. We need more people to stand up and speak up. And that could be you. Call us at 313-778-7600. We have another fan favorite who is coming back to the show today. We got a little bit of feedback, so everyone make sure their computers are turned all the way down. And Michael, help me out if you can. But I'm passing to the girlfriends. Okay, for the radio audience, you don't know, but you might want to tune in because my girlfriends are cute every day. Okay, pray for me. All right. So I will tell you that today is yellow and black. Okay, black. Oh wait, it's a song. Hit it for me, Michael. Black and yellow, black and yellow. Okay, everyone has on black and yellow, and so I don't know which black and yellow, but I think Sabrina started it. So Sabrina, don't get messy from the beginning. Okay, although this is the show that you can talk about people. So go ahead, Sabrina, go ahead. How you doing over there in Geneva on the lake? Okay, Geneva on the lake.
Wonderful. Carice, I'm wonderful. Katrina, these girlfriends are changing you. You used to be so nice, middle of the road, neutral, upstanding, but now you are turning totally messy. You are turning totally messy.
Survival. It's called survival.
There you go.
Oh my goodness.
There you go, Kat. You got it.
Welcome, girlfriends. This has been a day of reflection. January 6th, 1 year ago, I think we were all in shock and awe to see what we were seeing before our very own eyes, that attack on our nation's capital. Just no words to describe what we witnessed with our very own eyes. And to see that now we're in the courts, trying to decide who is wrong, who is right, who gets jail time, if it really happened, how it happened. It's such a divided case. It shouldn't be divided. I mean, it is what it is outright. But we're here to talk about that today. We all do have on yellow and black. You guys, I promise we never planned. We never talk about what we're going to wear. Well, not never. Sometimes if we do a T-shirt or something, we might plan that. But today we didn't. We all
go get the sponsors. Go get the sponsors.
Exactly. And so I told Katrina when she came on, she almost had it right, but hers are yellow with a tinge of orange, okay? And so she's going to
tell me.
I know Mama Pert has you some yellow earrings on standby.
Right.
So you can switch your wardrobe real soon. So I love laughing with you guys. I love that you bring a smile to my face because there are days that I do feel like crying. And I know I see you guys, you lift my spirits. And so thank you for who you be on this day as we talk about this very important topic. Gloria, you're looking good in your yellow and black. Yellow always makes us feel good. How are you today?
I like wearing Chris's favorite color. I like wearing Chris's favorite color. So, we all know. I'm doing good today. I personally cannot wait to jump into this subject. I know we can have some controversy on this subject. I love being educated on this subject. And I cannot even believe it's been a year. I can't even believe, you guys, that once again we have a life incident where people say, do you remember where you were on January 6th? And everybody will remember exactly where they were at the time, what they were doing, darn near what they were eating when they were shocked by what they saw in our own backyard. And me being in Baltimore, DC was down the street. I almost could see the smoke coming out the stacks down there. But it's been a reflective day, a good day, a workout day. I'm here, I'm back, I'm ready. Chris, out the D, what's going on in the D? There's a lot going on in your world, for real.
As they say, everything is good in the hood. Everything is good in the hood. And, it is a great day. Lots going on. What we all know is that from one moment to the next, life is precious and you just don't know. I always say you're one phone call away from having the best news of your life or the worst news of your life. So you better live your life to the fullest because you just don't know. And you know what, you guys, as we are reflecting and getting ready to talk about January the 6th, I was just, that's on the news today. I mean, I'm sure some news somewhere they're talking about COVID and that's going crazy. But today is all about January 6th. And I was able to hear some of the news they were talking about, and which was really, really interesting. Right now, they have identified 725 rioters. They have charged 70, and 30 have already are going to prison. 30, and I think one of the ones that had the highest number sentence is for 5 years. And I said, wow, 5 years out of your life for going to the Capitol and really believing that you had the right to go in and to put other people's lives in danger. So I totally remember where I was. I literally went back to my Instagram feed to see, because I totally remember my fingers just, certain things just gets my blood boiling. And on that day, it absolutely was boiling. So I have my tweet, what I said, what I was thinking. And I'm really glad that our Justice Department is taking this serious and that they're not just sweeping it under the table, because so many things, in my opinion, has been swept under the table, or they haven't dealt with it with a strong enough hand. So I'm glad that they are going to continue to charge those people who thought it was their right to infringe on other people's rights. So I'm excited about this conversation, and I'm going to throw it back to you, Katrina.
Yes, this is such an important topic, and we're going to get into it as we come back from the break. But first, I just want to bring our guest in and have him kind of catch us up on what's going on in his life, and right in time when we are ready to talk about this conversation. You know how folks say they got a black friend. I got one black friend. Okay. This is my one white boy friend. No, I got more than that, but I'm just telling you. He qualifies, and he is so cool. He doesn't mind me saying that, you guys. I'm telling you, Sean Smith is a father of two, husband of 20 years, speaker, trainer. At the age of 13, he was nearly killed by his next door neighbor in a hit and run accident while riding his bicycle to school. Police said the car was traveling over 50 miles an hour. That let him know that the second chance on life, he stopped taking life for granted and promised himself to never settle for mediocrity. Every time I read that, it's like, wow. We talked about winning yesterday, and he's an example of winning. Groundbreaking spoken word short film about healing racism called Let's Grow. He is one of the few people to deliver spoken word performance at TedX. So he's a TedX speaker. He wrote and performed a vulnerable, gut-wrenching 90-minute one-man show about his mommy issues called I Do Mom, I mean, this is a brother who's just, all around. He founded a personal development coaching and training company in 2006 that transforms thousands of lives worldwide, and has dedicated his life's work to studying the human brain, how to change our behavior and maximize our potential in all these areas. Y'all listen, he has produced over 3,000 articles, audios, videos. He's well spoken about this topic and so many others, and is trained globally in Canada, Colombia, Sabrina, Costa Rica, Greece, India, and of course, the United States of America. I love the work that he's done with Lisa Nichols, and just amazing. So, Sean, I'm bringing you in hot, okay? So here he goes. He didn't get the memo either about the black and yellow, but come on.
Yeah, I didn't get that
We're
memo.
so
I'm gonna have to check my wardrobe. You know, I'm a man, so it's not like I got a bunch of options here. This is what I'm rocking all day. That's once I commit in the morning, I'm committed for the day. It's such a pleasure to be here with you all, and I am so honored, Katrina, to just be one of your white man friends.
Thank you, Sean. Catch us up since you were on the show last time. We got so much. Bring them back for a part 2. Well, this is part 2, but tell us what's going on in your life. What's happening? Catch us up.
Yeah, it's the gravity of what we've been talking about with the January 6th date and where I was. I was just kind of reliving some of those memories as the four of you were talking about it. As it relates to the race conversation, the latest thing that I've done, you mentioned the TEDx talk. My TEDx talk just went live about 2 weeks ago. It's called Dear Racism, a breakup letter from a white man. And it's really my journey with this entity called racism. 2 weeks ago. Who am I inside of all of it? And it's based on a really profound conversation I had with a black friend of mine, probably 10 years ago, a guy I grew up and went to school with. So it's a meaningful piece for me. It's unlike anything that I've ever done. And, I'm interested, as the four of you are, obviously, to open up conversations. We're not going to deliver a whole lot of answers in a short period of time, but can we open up a whole lot of conversations and bring people to the table? I think that's the solutions that we need.
I love it. I love it. I love it. What has been the response that you've gotten from that going live, and how can people watch and listen to that? We have just a couple minutes before we go to the break, and then we'll dive in when we come back. So tell us a little bit more about the tell us what it's called. Dear Racism, breakup letter.
Dear Racism, breakup letter from a white man. If somebody wants to see it on YouTube, they can search for my name, Sean Smith, and TEDx, and it'll come up, or I can post a link here on the various places that this is going live. And it was a thought, I wanted to do a talk about the difference in society and the division in society and all the things that are going on, especially on top of the pandemic and all of this, tension that we have in society. And a thought just woke me up one night. And the thought was, Dear Racism. If I was writing a letter to racism, what would I write? And it woke me up, and I ended up jotting down a bunch of ideas for hours. And I ended up writing a letter. Like, for those of you that can see my video, I actually hand wrote this letter of, what do I now know of? What do I think of the entity called racism, my place in it, how I've perpetuated it in the past unknowingly, and who am I now? And for me, the thing that always drives me is when my kids ask me, or my kids tell their friends what their dad did in this time of turmoil, the thought of what that answer could be is what simultaneously chills my bones, but also gets me going. So it's a really deep, vulnerable, and honestly a scary thing for me to talk about.
Wow. It's so. Well, we're going to the break. Last time when you came on, now we're paying the bills 4 times during the show. So here we go. And Michael, did I hear you bring out black and yellow? Crank it up as we go to the break. All right, we'll be right back. Let me go grab my yellow earrings, okay? are back. We are back. We are back. We are back, and we're going to get into this conversation. We're going to get into this conversation. You know, my earrings on Facebook, they look pink, but they really are black. They really are black and yellow. The funny thing is, this morning I pulled them out, and then I said, let me wear the orange ones. So I'm excited to be here with you guys. But this is a super important conversation, and I know that there are some people that would say, what does race have to do with what happened on January 6th? And then there are Black folks who understand exactly what it has to do. It has everything to do. There is power in truth. And the truth about the January 6th, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol is this: racism and a fear of growing diversity in the United States was at the heart of the violence. While then President Donald Trump encouraged demonstrators to retake the nation under the guise of halting certification of a 2020 election result, racism was in the roots of and remains embedded in this movement. Rioters blatantly and proudly hurled racial slurs against Capitol police officers. Many waved the Confederate battle flag, long a symbol of Southern states that supported slavery and those promoting post-Civil War racist policies. Gallows and nooses, y'all, that recall the lynchings of Black people appeared on the ground, on the Capitol ground. So many symbols of racial hatred. I could go on and on and on. Research shows that many white evangelicals, for example, do not want to live in a religiously diverse country, identifying as Christian nationalists. A September survey by the Public Religions Research Institute found that roughly 1/3 of whites surveyed believe that God granted America a special role in human history and that patriotic violence may be necessary to save the nation. These striking statistics should be confronted as part of our efforts to understand exactly what happened on January 6th. So we're going to get in and talk directly about this topic. And so, Sean, I'm going to bring you in. What did racism in your mind have to do with January 6th? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I appreciate you reading what you just did. To the white community, had nothing to do with race, because it wasn't protesting race. There were no outward signs of racism there. It was a political thing, and I think it's really important for us to understand that racism is designed to hide itself. That's what keeps it going in many ways. And it allows especially white people, because nobody wants to be racist. There are very, very few people who proudly say I'm racist. So it gives the white community something to deny if there isn't overt racism on display. You have to look at the seeds. To your point, you have to look at the Confederate flags. What are the roots of that? What are the roots of the gallows that were on the premises there? What are the roots of the philosophies and ideologies that have built into it? So it's really difficult. It's like looking at a cake and seeing the eggs. You can't see the eggs in the cake. You just got to know the eggs are there. So it's really difficult to identify something that's embedded in the fabric. That's going to take education for us to see what cannot be seen. And we can open this up a little bit later, Katrina, but I'm also glad you spoke to the religious component of it. You know, I was just reading the other day that prior to race even being created, it's just a construct. It's an idea. Prior to that, the country was divided by religion. But as soon as a lot of the Black slaves started to convert to Christianity, now there was a new problem on their hand, because they couldn't make the distinction in who they're going to oppress. And so that was one of the reasons, one of the ingredients that race was even created, because obviously it's easy to see.
Wow, that is huge. You said a lot, and I love when you just grab a nugget, but the eggs are in the cake, even if you don't see them. That was so good and so true. I'm going to go to the girlfriends in just a moment, but I thank you for Larry and James that are on hold. Thank you for calling into We Got Issues. And so we want to hear from you and want you to lean into this conversation. Talk to us. Larry, are you there? Thanks for calling We Got Issues.
Yes, ladies and one of the things that I want to make mention of, and I'll just leave it at that to allow someone else to call in. The part that really troubles me more than anything is that 1 year today, there was a overthrow of our democracy and our government. We were probably one act away from that being a reality in this country. My issue or my problem is that what did we do in order to address bad behavior? If you don't address bad behavior and punish those that commit criminal acts, crimes, one of the things that happens is that you have copycats to occur. In that 1 year today, our democracy was threatened, was overthrown almost to that point. 350 individuals who have been identified by the FBI are still on the run, on the loose. We have not charged those individuals. I'm more concerned about what happened after the insurrection. Voter suppression in every state in the country. Who is now less powerful, less possibilities of us being able to use that electoral process and to elect a free and a free democracy in this country, or individuals that may be run using our electoral process. That is at threat. I am concerned. We still have a filibuster. We still have a divided country. What do we do? What do we use to measure or to get us out of this situation? I'm troubled by it. Thank you, ladies, for taking my call.
Larry, you said a lot. You said a lot. Does somebody want to jump in on that? I thought one of the girlfriends was jumping in. You said so much, Larry. You spoke the words right out of all of our mouths. And I love that Sean said we're not going to solve all the issues today, but dog on it, we're going to move closer by opening up this conversation. Because I should say, why does it take an anniversary for
Bill, we all have seen how the racism conversation was front and center, and it has moved just on the nationally, it's moved kind of in a different direction because there's so much news. And so, Larry, you said so much. I'm going to go right to James, who's on hold also, and then pass it to one of the girlfriends. So, James, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you doing?
Oh, we're doing great, James. Thanks so much for calling into We Got Issues.
Yes, we sure do. And I want to say, because of January 6th, I don't think that's black folks' business, and I'm going to tell you why. The white folks, at least they had enough sense to go to the state capitol when it's open. And Congress is in the building. See, they believe in fighting for what they believe in. We go when it's closed, when Congress is on vacation. This is why we never get anything done. Now, we want to talk about racism. October 2020, a 6-year-old black baby boy in Michigan was killed execution style, shot in the back of the head close range. You see, then the 28-year-old black babysitter, same way, shot in the back of the head close range, blew their brains out their head, and then dismembered her body in her head. And we don't talk about that as black people because it wasn't a white person that done that, or a black person. You see, right here in Michigan, less than 20 miles from National Network headquarters, they won't even talk about it. The baby daddy shot, killed, put in the car, doused with gas, set on fire, and people eating the smoke. But we want to keep talking about what this white man is doing to black. What about what these Arabs are doing? 2 weeks after that, another Arab at the gas station shot the AK-47 through the bulletproof gas and killed the 18-year-old black man. We don't talk about that. So let's talk about everybody that's doing the killing to black folks. If we can't do that, let the white man go free. Everything they do. Why is it that when black people see stuff on the news, what the Arabs is doing, nobody want to open their house? Where's vaccine? the water at now? Where's El Shafi at? Still got dirty water in the harbor. 300 passengers go down to Georgia. You can't get one to go to Benton Harbor. They drift their head in the ocean.
Today we're talking about January 6th. And as we opened the show, we said we can't solve that on this one show. So we certainly can't solve every issue. And if you continue to listen and We Got Issues, we talk about a lot. Violence and lawlessness is got to go. And it is here and it is a problem. And we could talk about it till the end of time from all different angles. But what we understand is we can do more than one thing well at the same time. And today we're talking about January 6th. And so I appreciate you for calling in. Racism does exist, and there are other examples too. But today we're talking about the racism that we saw front and center that could threaten the very fabric of our democracy. So thanks for calling in. I appreciate you calling into We Got Issues. I'm going to pass it to you, Sabrina. I know this is near and dear to, just the talk about the blatant racism front and center. Well, we're going to a break. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael, for that. We're going to a break. Yeah, we get turned up and we forget to look at the clock. It is We Got Issues, and we will be right back because America, we got issues. We got issues. Yes. We're going to make it what we make it. We are going to make it what we make it. This is a important topic. Everybody wants to talk about it. I know I'm seeing the chat on the social media. I know we have some more callers coming in. Sabrina, I'm bringing you back in. You are listening to We Got Issues. We Got Issues, and we're talking about January 6th, the insurrection. What you got? What you got to share?
Oh, my goodness. It's just taking me to a place where it's a very somber situation. We've had such a good time this week, and I think sometimes I don't know, it's escapism. We talk about it all on We Got Issues, but today it's a very important topic. It just takes me to a place where we can run, but we can't hide. We have to look this thing in the mirror, look at it in the face, deal with it. What we saw happen on January 6th, where clearly our democracy was threatened. And one of the callers said, what can we do? What we cannot do is just continue to sit around and act like it's not around us. We've got to get involved. We've got to be very thoughtful. We've got to make a difference. We got to believe that we can make a difference, whether it's calling a legislator, writing a letter, being on the front lines of a movement. We can no longer just sit by and let somebody else handle our business. This is our country. This is the United States of America. And for what went down on January 6th a year ago is really unfathomable. And I think we have to name it. We have to shame it. We have to name it as talking about it. Say what it is. I know that I've been in situations where I know it's uncomfortable. I don't want to quite stir the pot, so I leave the conversation alone. I have to myself be okay with the conversation and get some understanding with my neighbors. I start with neighbors, friends, family members. We have to talk about it. So naming it for what it is, shaming it. I mean, we all should be embarrassed for what went down in the United States of America, January 6th. There's shame, great shame there. And then the last is prosecuted. These people need to be put in jail. They need to pay a price for the wrongdoing. And so I've just been sitting here taking it all in, listen to the callers, listen to Sean, saying, how can we be better? We've got to be better. Voter suppression, I mean, really what they're trying to do with voting laws all over the country. You guys, do we see what's happening right before our very eyes? I sometimes say, I'm going to move to another country. I just want to leave. But we can't just leave. That's the easy way out. So we got to fight, continue to fight for what's right.
I'd love to add on to that if I can.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Sean.
Sure. What I believe Larry brought up and Sabrina, you just mentioned is really critical, accountability. However, we need to hold the roots of the problem accountable. None of those rioters are going to change anything. We can give them 1,000 years in jail, and what will happen is those people won't come back the next time that they're whipped into a frenzy, but they will be replaced by other people. The people that need to be held accountable are the ones in power. And those are the people that have yet to be held accountable. They've yet to be charged. We're just going after the soldiers. We got to go after the sergeants. We got to go after the people that were telling the lies, the people that were whipping all these folks up. But the thing is, they have to lose what matters to them. But the only thing that's going to matter to them is power. If they don't lose their power, then even jail time or any other consequences won't get at the entity at all. And the fact that, like, Alicia made a comment earlier too that I want to speak to. She said, imagine if the crowd had been black. That by itself will elicit all kinds of responses. But I have a different question. Imagine if the president had been black. Imagine if the people on stage had been black. Imagine if the congressmen that are saying the same things that all these people were saying. Imagine if they had been black.
Right.
And just thinking that thought out will expose a lot of the racism that you spoke to, and we have to confront. I'm so with you, Sabrina. We can't just gloss over this stuff and hope that people will just come to their moral boundaries and go, you know what? I'm just going to decide not to do that because I shouldn't.
That's true. That's true. Chris, you were going to jump in and then we're going to go to a caller.
Yeah, I was just going to say one of the things that January 6th did for me, it pulled the blinders off of my eyes and made me realize just how fragile democracy is, just how easy it can be taken away. You know, I haven't had my head in the sand. I know that racism exists. I know that bigotry exists. I mean, my parents, my mother talked about, you know, being raised in Tennessee and how they had to drink out of the black and the white fountains. Now, this is my mother. I'm not talking about my great, 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 great grandmother. So that's not very far removed from me, that my mother has stories about that. So I totally know that it still exists. But somewhere in my naivety, I was still under the impression, well, we live in the United States. We have the government. We have, our rules, and we have our regulations, our Constitution. We're standing on the Constitution. And what this did for me is to say, hey, you really need to know, going to school, you learn about the Constitution and how it works. And as you get older, you don't know all the nuances. But watching how things are working in Congress, it is not far-fetched to see if you get a certain type of person in authority, they literally can turn back the hands of time. And you think, right, I can't believe there'll ever be a time in my lifetime where they say Black people can't vote. You know what? Don't be naive. Because if we're not careful, if we are not watching, it absolutely, before I would have said that's so far-fetched, please don't say that. But now I promise you, there's a little something in my gut that's uneasy about the current environment in our government. It really is, quite frankly, very scary and unnerving.
It is. You said it, Chris, for sure. We're going to go to 2 callers, and we want to hear from Jerome and then Robin. If you're still there, thanks for holding on. Thanks for calling in to We Got Issues, because this is an important topic and a big issue. Jerome, are you there?
Yeah, yes, I am, and thank you for letting me join the discussion. I think one thing that we're overlooking is that the whole year last year was attacked on African American people, starting with the storming of the Capitol. And most of the decisions made about African American people have been made on lies and rumors. Every single one. The federal government said that Dr. Martin Luther King was the most dangerous man in America. That was a lie and a rumor that incited his assassination. The storming of the Capitol itself was a lie and a rumor about us, voter fraud. Donald Trump didn't spend not one dime with any of the white communities that voted for Joe Biden. He did it in Georgia, Detroit, and everywhere else where there were Black voters. So this was an attack on African American people, the storming of the Capitol. And I heard one of the previous callers say that it wasn't about Black and white, but it was. And what we need to do is we need to let those folks know who stormed the Capitol the real American story. They stormed the Capitol because they were told lies and rumors. What needs to happen is America's real story needs to be told. They need to know our story in its entirety. No student needs to be able to graduate from any public school or institution without knowing our story in its entirety with all of its stuff. It's real simple. If they knew better, they would do better. And if we knew better, we would do better. So what I'm saying is know our story. Make him tell the rest of his and her story, which will automatically include our story. And most of all, know my story. Because if you don't, you got to ask somebody about me. Know your history. So you're doomed to repeat it.
Yeah. I love it, Jerome. Jerome, is this your first time listening to We Got Issues? We appreciate you adding some great value to the conversation.
No, it's not. I listen all the time. And I actually called once or twice. And I believe the first time I called, you guys suggested that I ran for an office.
That was you. Well, let's say it again because you're bringing it, my brother.
Well, you know, if those folks knew, even in the Black community, if we knew our values, we would never kill each other in the street. If those officers knew Breonna Taylor's value, they would have never shot her. I mean, you already saw the movie Hidden Figures. Where those 3 Black women computed the disadvantage of all those planets. There were no computers then. They were the computers. Computers were designed after them. And everybody that stops at a traffic light should think about a Black person. When you flush your toilet, you should think about a Black person. Those people in the Capitol, when they reached up under their chairs, the gas mask was created by a Black person. If we all knew our values, we would do better.
Wow, Jerome, you added a lot of conversation, and don't be hiding out. Keep on calling in because, as sports sisters, we love having the man perspective on We Got Issues on all of them. But honestly, you added some great value, and we appreciate you so much. You brought something up, so as we go to break, I'm going to have Dorothy play it for the Facebook audience.
And Michael's going to play it for our radio audience. This is, guess what, from my favorite app, TikTok. But what it is the footage of the insurrection and the Fox News coverage of Black Lives Matter protests. What would happen if they put what they said about the Black Lives Matter on top of the insurrection? Because we know they reported it differently. So go ahead and cue that, and we'll go right to break, and we'll be right back.
Tell you this is the best video you'll see today.
Watch what happens when they put Fox News coverage of Black Lives Matter protests over footage of the January 6th terrorist attack on the Capitol.
This kind of mob-like behavior has got to stop before somebody gets hurt. Violence, intimidation, unacceptable in this country.
It's not a protest. These aren't children. These are adults. And they're destroying our country.
I think what is so jarring to so many Americans right now is just the fact that there's so much lawlessness. Why isn't anybody stopping the looting and the vandalism and the destruction of private and public property?
That giant lie handicapped the police
We'll
so
be
they
right
couldn't
back.
do a damn
We'll be
thing
right back.
to stop the riots without being accused of attacking mostly peaceful protesters. These include people who threw projectiles at cops,
screaming the most disgusting things in their faces, an inch away from their face.
Fuck you, police!
Someone with long hair with a flag hitting someone else. All of this violence.
How is rioting, throwing things at police officers, how does this solve anything?
It isn't just an attack on police. Think about it. It's an attack on the rule of law, on civilization itself.
I don't understand the rioting, the looting. I understand peaceful protests, and I think most people do. But when it comes to all this violence, people throwing things at each other, enough is enough.
Welcome back to We Got Issues. We're having a very important conversation today with the Force of Friendship and with Sean Smith. You want to be sure you're following him at Coach Sean Smith because he will keep you laughing, but he also breaks it down and keeps it real. And don't let something happen in America. This brother right here will call them out, will call you out if you are wrong. Wrong is wrong, wrong is wrong. And I thank you for that. That was very telling. If you have an opportunity to really look at that, the video that we shared and the audio that we played, it's like, you know what they said went right along with what we saw, but it's always different if it is a Black person and Black people in this case. At this point, 705 people, we saw thousands of people, thousands and thousands of people storm the Capitol. 705 people were arrested. At least 165 found guilty. 71 have been sentenced, and we're a year later. I'm going to pass it to you, Sean, so I could bring you back into the conversation. You talked about this cult-like formula. Can you talk about that? What causes, in your opinion, this really cult-like following? Because Donald Trump stood up there, gave this speech, and then here we go. It's like, follow me off the cliff. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, this is what I'm most fascinated by and most passionate about. And, you know, I don't have any political programming. I've only voted once, which is in our last election. 2 years ago, I didn't know what a Republican or a Democrat was. I didn't know Trump was a Republican. I didn't know any of that stuff. But I started to pay attention when I was fascinated by a lot of the behavior, a lot of what I see as cult-like following. And the easiest thing to manipulate is ignorance, which is why I loved what our previous caller just said. The majority of what fuels so much of the following is based on ignorance. And if I just tell you what to think and how to think, and then you believe me and you don't challenge me, and I don't have to prove that what I'm saying is true, then I'm obviously going to plant things that I can then use to manipulate you. So if I've got your ignorance, I've got you. And now if I can add on to that fear, and anybody that studies the real history of this country and not the white mythology that is in our textbooks, then we'll know that at the root, if we go back hundreds and hundreds of years, there was blatant fear of Black people. I mean, it's literally in the laws. Nobody could deny that. So that fear is a primal component. So now we've got ignorance on top of fear. And if you add the final piece to this, which is what you brought up early on, Katrina, righteousness. If people believe that they are fighting for what is righteous, now they feel like they've got this obligation to be there at the Capitol, to be there to fight for what they believe is righteous. I actually coined a term I think I coined it in my recent TEDx talk, and I said, I called it righteousness.
I never heard of it. When I saw, I was like, "Oh, righteousness." Okay.
Wow.
Righteousness. Because now when you put white on top of it, and when you think that God has anointed white people, now we've got those three components on top of each other. It is a concoction that is so dangerous and so scary. And when people, when their identity as a good person, especially following what they believe is to be the word of God, and these people, whether it's Black or non-white or gay or whoever they believe as the enemies, once they're involved in this good versus evil battle and they've chosen a side, it's over. It's game over. There's no conversations with these people that are going to pull them out of that fantasy. And my fear is that piece right there is not what's being addressed. We can lock up the rioters, but until that piece gets dismantled, we actually cannot make any institutional progress. We can't even think about equity because we're miles away from equality.
Wow.
You know,
Gloria, I know you have a lot to say.
Yeah, I mean, my head is going all over the place, and I wanted to hear all the callers. And, you know, following what you just said, Sean, this is so big. There's a documentary on Netflix that talks about tyrants, and it talks about tyrants over history. So I had watched some of it before we'd said all this news about January 6th, and what you just described as the perfect storm for someone to come in and do what Donald Trump did. If we're not very smart, like you said, if we're act ignorant and it goes underneath, you know, when Chris said, you know, it makes you aware and awake of what can happen And we all know that history repeats itself over and over and over again. It is amazing how where we are right now, we were perfectly positioned for someone like him to come in and do what happened. And I had not realized that before, but it is so horrible where we are and we don't know it. Where we are and we haven't put the pieces of the puzzles together to make it fit to create this perfect storm. And if we don't do something, and we're the only ones who can do something, and it's so interesting that it is based in race, but if we go at it through just race, it's a hard thing to change. If we go at it with the problem that it is, we have to figure out how to go at it a different way, because they will poo-poo it if it's about race.
I think that's a really important piece. The racial conversation is actually not going to move the needle very much, right, because it's deeper than that. And racism is built to defend itself. I think what you just mentioned is really important for us to understand the problem. The problem is not Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not a cult leader, but he has a cult following. And the reason he has a cult following is because he's a marketer. 7 years ago, Donald Trump didn't even have the philosophies that he's now known for, but he's a marketer. He just says things and then figures out what moves the crowd. So he grabbed what was already in the fabric and brought it to the surface, which I think is, number one, hopefully we'll take the target off of him, because he's not actually the most dangerous ingredient. But now we'll look at the ingredients in the recipe that are a problem. And then if we can get this shared experience and shared commitment that this is not what we want our society to look like, this is not what we want our country to look like, and we attack the ignorance that fuels so much of it, I do have hope that this can be changed. It's not going to be a quick conversation. Long term, though, on a long enough timeline, I dream of this day when we look back as a human species and go, wow, Donald Trump brought all of this to the surface so we could fix what was already a problem.
And yet it feels so much, I think so many people would agree, that Donald Trump was a direct response to a Barack Obama. It's like, had there not been a Barack Obama, would there have been a Donald Trump? I love when you say this, what you just shared. The institution of racism is built to withstand all attacks from the outside and nearly all attacks from the inside. The exception is the straight, white, middle-aged, middle-class man. That is the core identity that the system was designed to protect. I mean, that is just, it's all up in the fabric. So you guys, you have to be sure to go listen to Sean Smith's TEDx talk, Dear Racism, a breakup letter from a white man. Right. We put the link in the chat, and they can also check it out. Sean, you want to share any more about how they can follow you before we end for the day? It comes to an end so quickly, and we are just getting started.
It's amazing how fast you guys make time go here when we're talking about the deep stuff. Yeah, everywhere online, I am Coach Sean Smith. This conversation, the best place to find me would be to go to that YouTube video, and I'm easy to find. So if any of you want to continue the conversation in any way, please let me know. And you mentioned it. I'm extremely proud of this movie that we created as well, this short film. It's a 16-minute piece, and it does a lot of the work that we're talking about here. It speaks to the ignorance. It's a coming together literally at the table and starting conversations. And that's where my hope lies.
Mm-hmm. You can go to CoachSeanSmith.com. Follow Coach Sean Smith on YouTube also. Really good. Well, I tell you, we've had some light topics this week, and today was heavy, and you got to come back tomorrow to see what Friday is going to be all about. We have issues, and this is the place we come to talk about them every single day, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 Eastern time. We will see you tomorrow. All right. Choose to make a difference. Mm-hmm.